Take a look at that. This may go down as an iconic, epic moment.
Mere days before the 2024 election, the Fox propaganda network accidentally did the funniest thing ever by accidentally publicly humiliating Donald Trump in the worst possible way. And it really is funny, and we have to talk about it. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to look at in this video, but I should say the challenge for me as we do this is to not burst into laughter. It's going to be very hard because this is genuinely funny. And when I first saw this clip yesterday during the weekly live show that I do with 3 other political commentators called Live and Learn that I do every Wednesday, when we saw this clip, we all burst into laughter because it's just that damn funny. And it happened courtesy of Fox News. So here you go. Brace yourselves. This is hilarious.
According to the Democratic Party, billions of Americans just like you and me, we are a basket of irredeemable deplorables. We are racist, sexist, fascist-loving Nazis who cling to our God, our guns, our Bibles, our religion. And now apparently the top Democrat in the White House thinks that we're also garbage. But as the saying goes, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And today in Wisconsin, take a look at that. This may go down as an iconic, epic moment that we will remember for a long time. Donald Trump hitching.
I hope you're right, Sean. I really hope you're right. I do think this is going to go down as an iconic moment that we will hopefully remember for a long time. So let's watch it again together and note what happens as Sean Hannity says these words. Watch Donald Trump very carefully.
And today in Wisconsin, take a look at that. This may go down as an iconic, epic moment that we will remember for a long time.
So that was Donald Trump nearly slipping and falling on his ass and struggling to get into a garbage truck. Literally, I mean, you couldn't time it. Like The Daily Show, I can't imagine. The Daily Show is going to have a field day with this particular clip. Political satirists are going to have a field day with this clip, not just of Trump doing what he did, but of Hannity's monologue, which they won't have to splice in because Hannity literally did this on live TV. This is the clip. This right here, this post from ACYN. This is what we saw on Live and Learn yesterday, and it burst into because the way he transcribes it. Hannity, take a look at that. This may go down as an iconic, epic moment. Shows clip of Trump almost falling on the ground. So funny. Ron Filipowski, he did a zoom in on this too, and we're going to take a look at that. I mean, again, watch this. This is the iconic moment that Hannity dares us to remember. So and actually, you know what? It is relevant to the rest of this video, but again, I want to focus on this part first, which is this is Trump nearly slipping, falling against the door, catching himself, opening the door, then jerking his hand down and trying to hoist himself into this truck, all in like a 2-second span. So he slips, falls forward, has to grab the rail, catches himself, opens the door, jerks the handle down, and has to hoist himself in. Now, Ron Filipowski also collated some other things too, because this is relevant to the rest of the video. Perhaps there's some neurological weakness in Donald Trump's right leg. So the reason Filipowski put this together, that there are subtle signs about issues with Trump's right leg. I mean, that was the leg that failed him when he nearly fell on his butt. Now, the reason that this is important, other than it's just dunking on Trump, which I would just argue is objectively in and of itself worthwhile, Donald Trump is a coin flip away from the White House. He could win this election. By the way, I went out and voted early today. I still encourage you all to do so as well. Early voting is going on in many states, many key swing states as well. And many states also permit eligible voters to register to vote and vote the same day if you're not already registered. So I would encourage you to do that. Make a plan to vote. Your vote really does matter, particularly in the swing states. And it gives us an opportunity to try to put MAGA behind us and chart a more, robust, a more successful future for this country, including for conservatives, I will add. But Donald Trump could win this election. And he has not released his medical records. There's so many things that are wrong with Donald Trump in terms of just who he is as a person that it's hard to keep track of it all. But we discussed in previous videos that he has refused to release his medical records. And then we just forget about it. And again, I'm not saying that this is just a you problem. I struggle with this, right? You almost need like a dedicated team or a super intelligence to track all of these stupid, dangerous, authoritarian, abnormal things that Donald Trump has said, done, and promised he would do if he becomes president again. And one of them is he is withholding his medical records from the American people, just like he did his tax records. So Time goes into detail about this. The controversy over Donald Trump's absent medical records explained. As the calls for Donald Trump to release his medical records, as calls grow for Donald Trump to release his medical records, Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris called out her opponent once more during a rally in Texas on Friday. And as a matter of fact, let's listen to this clip before we read the rest of the article, because the vice president makes a really powerful point.
And now the Attorney General of Texas is suing the United States government so that Texas prosecutors can check this out, so that Texas prosecutors can get their hands on private medical records of women who leave the state to get care. Now, I'd ask everybody here, please do see the irony, okay? Listen to this. On the one hand, Donald Trump won't let anyone see his medical records. I gave up mine. And on the other hand, they want to get their hands on your medical records.
That is ironic. It's incredibly authoritarian. It's incredibly hypocritical. It's incredibly dangerous. And again, it's not just Donald Trump, but his allies like the unhinged Ken Paxton, probably the worst attorney general in the country. And when you consider the number of Republican attorneys general in this country, that is saying something. But more on this article. In Harris's report, physician Joshua R. Simmons said the vice president, quote, possesses the physical and mental resiliency required to successfully execute the duties of the presidency, end quote. And I should also say this is reflected in the polls. Poll after poll after poll, as we've discussed and shown in previous videos, show that the majority of Americans believe that Vice President Harris is more mentally and physically fit to be president than Donald Trump. This is a serious polling vulnerability for Trump. Soon after the Harris campaign released the vice president's medical report on October 12th, over 200 doctors and healthcare providers signed an open letter calling on Trump to release his. The letter, dated October 13th and organized by the group Doctors for Harris, argued that the former president should have similar transparency, quote, given his advancing age. Quote, the American people deserve to have confidence in their elected officials' mental and physical capacity to do the jobs they've elected them to do, they wrote. Quote, Trump ought to be going above and beyond to provide transparency on his physical health and mental acuity given his advancing age, end quote. The issue has become more salient for Trump ever since President Biden, 81, dropped out of the presidential election on July 21st, and Trump, 78, was left running against a then 59-year-old Harris. Harris has since had a birthday, and the vice president is 60 years old. Though it's often traditional for presidential candidates to share medical records, there's no statute that requires Trump to release his. According to Jeff Galati, a political science professor at Bentley University in Waltham, Massachusetts, the more that Trump refuses to do what Democrats are asking of him, the more his base supports him. Quote, it's really just a matter of public opinion now, and he's gotten away with not sharing it in 2 consecutive elections, Gulati tells Time. Quote, so there's just, no real incentive for him to release them now. The most recent medical report publicly shared by Trump was featured in a November 20th, 2023 Truth Social post, which detailed a screenshot of a letter from Dr. Bruce Aronwald, sharing little detail, not going into a fraction of the detail that the vice president did, but saying that Donald Trump was in, quote, excellent health. In August, Trump said he would gladly share his medical records, but he has yet to do so. That was in August. However, in October, when approached by reporters and asked about his medical records, Trump said the public has already had enough information on his health. Quote, yeah, my health records, I've done 5 exams over the last 4 years. You've got them all. I've given my health exams. I've done cognitive tests twice, and I've aced them. So Donald Trump is refusing to hand over his records at a time when he is the oldest presidential record or presidential candidate in American history, when the polls show that Americans have serious doubts about his physical and mental fitness, when he is shown giving gaffe after gaffe after gaffe and non sequiturs and incoherent ramblings he calls the weave. And now, going back to this clip, we are seeing signs that Donald Trump may not be physically well, showing weakness and frailty. This could be an election issue. This could be a decisive election issue given the margins, and something we have to talk about, especially if you complained about President Biden. Again, perfectly valid to say, hey, listen, especially with an aging candidate, we need to have serious, discussions and serious scrutiny about your physical and mental health. That's fine. That's even fine to do that with Biden. I said that from the very beginning. My issue is the double standard, right? If that's your standard for Biden, but it's not for Trump, then you're a hypocrite. And at the end of the day, no matter who the president is or who the candidate is, no matter what their political party, we should be holding them to the same standard. And Donald Trump, once again, is hoping that you'll grade him on a curve and not expect him to be transparent, despite the obvious signs and the obvious risk. So there we go. Again, hilarious clip from Sean Hannity embarrassing Trump in the worst possible way at the worst possible time. And I can't wait to see the spoofs that come from this. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.